Hey everyone, welcome back to FSi DFS. Looking at the 6-game main slate here for Thursday. Very early lock time, so pay attention to that. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. And we got Clayton Kershaw returning to the mound. First time this season in the majors. Scherzer is back as well. He left his last start early due to some arm fatigue, which makes him a really intriguing play. Do you think he's going to have a pitch count or not? So yeah, we'll break down all the pitchers, then we'll head towards the bats, some of our favorite individual plays, and we got the sheet for this one, and let's get ready to go. So looking up at the top, 9K and above, we got Burns, Cease, and Bradley. My favorite guy amongst these three is going to be Dylan Cease, who's looked just incredible his past handful of starts. 8, 11, 10 strikeouts in his past 3, and then he's got a 9 strikeout game against this very same Washington team just last month. So the ceiling of Cease is certainly there. We have seen his salary drop 1,300 since that start against Washington, where he put up 36 DK points on 9 strikeouts. Not sure what happened with that, with the pricing, but hey, we'll take it, and he's going to be my favorite pitcher with the upside in this higher salary tier. Bradley, right behind him. He's my second favorite pitcher up in this higher salary tier. This guy has been absolutely lights out. June 9th. What were you doing on June 9th? Or sorry, June 1st. What were you doing on June 1st? That is the only start since May 20th that he has allowed more than 2 earned runs. It is just absolutely incredible what he has been doing since that June 1st start. In his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starts, he has an ERA under 1. Just truly unbelievable. Truly unbelievable what this guy has been able to do. Strikeout rate is not as high as Cease is. I don't think he has as high of a ceiling as Cease, especially given the matchup facing off against Toronto. Toronto, I guess they're much like Washington in that they're a very low strikeout rated team, bottom 10 strikeout team in the league against right-handed pitching. But regardless, all that considered, Bradley right behind Cease in this top tier. And then Burns, it's not that he's a bad play by any means. 9.5K against Miami, who strikes out the middle of the pack against right-handed pitching. Miami struggles much more against left-handers. But middle of the pack strikeout team against a righty. And Burns is kind of that pitcher who's better. He's that guy who's better in real life than he is for fantasy purposes. Like, he's going to go out there and he's going to give you a very solid floor. But those 30-plus DK point game, like ceiling games that guys like Cease can get you, are not as frequent as the Dylan Cease frequency of getting that 30-plus DK point game. So you can see he's only got 1, and that was against Seattle, who everybody strikes Seattle out. And then the first start of the season, that was it. Those were his only 2 starts where he was over 30 DK points, over 28 DK points, really. So he's not a bad play by any means. He's going to go out there, he's going to get you 6 to 7 innings, allow 2 earned runs, get you 6 to 7 Ks, and be fine. Scoring the under, low 20s, and that's going to pay off his salary. He's not a fade by any means. He's just my third-ranked guy in this higher salary tier. And you can see it on the sheet right here. So going towards the mid-tier, like I mentioned, Scherzer, he got pulled in his last start after, I think it was 2 innings? 40-some pitches. 53 pitches, over 2 innings. So he didn't go very deep into the game. Arm fatigue. I mean, he's an older pitcher. Let's be honest. He's an older pitcher. Arm fatigue is not something to mess around with either. Like, I'm fairly concerned with this, but at the same time, the manager, he says he thinks he's okay. I'm going to trust inside the organization more so than me on my couch. So manager says he's fine. He's also got a dream matchup facing off against the White Sox. So that is another bonus to Scherzer. When you're looking at the remainder of these guys in the mid-tier, Kershaw, he's probably going to be on a pitch count as well in his first return back to the majors here. Webb, facing off against the Dodgers, no, he's been having struggles of his own without facing the Dodgers. Now he's facing one of the elite offenses in the league. Gavin Williams, nice matchup against Detroit, but I don't know, he just hasn't lived up to the hype that we were expecting of him this season. I know he was injured for the first half of the year, but like there was a lot of excitement with this guy, and it just kind of hasn't panned out in his 4 starts. And then Bassett against Tampa Bay, kind of there. So Scherzer kind of like goes up the rankings in this mid tier just for that reason, kind of like elimination. Williams mentioned how, like, there was a lot of hype towards him, and he's got a decent matchup facing off against Detroit. Detroit, he's faced them already a couple weeks back, and it was actually his best start of the season. Bassett, he's just kind of there, middleman, like not a fade, not a great play. I feel like he's one of my least interesting pitchers on the board here. Kershaw, I expect maybe 65, 70 pitches. He was doing some rehab assignments, and he never topped, more than 65 pitches. So if they go with him a little bit longer, maybe he gets to 70, but even that could be a little bit of a stretch. So I got him ranked down below Williams and Bassett because of that. And then Logan Webb, he's just a heavy ground ball pitcher, which you would think would limit some damage, but it's been really tough for him over the past week or so. And now he's going to be facing off against this Dodgers team, who we just faced last month at home, but now he's going over to Dodger Stadium, and yeah, I don't have any high hopes for him with that. In the cheap tier, Cannon, he's really the only guy that I would have any interest in. Maeda, he's to be determined, but he's kind of the projected guy. But if he's in, absolutely not. Like, I don't expect him to go deep into the game. He's kind of been playing like a bullpen role lately. And then Corbin and Munoz, absolutely not. So Cannon, he's really the only guy left that I have any interest in here in this salary. He's facing off against Texas. Texas has not scored more than 4 runs since... Think about it. Take a guess. Texas has not scored 4 runs as an offense since when? July 9th. There you go. July 9th. It has been 15 days. I know there's 4 days off for the All-Star break. Man, we're talking, 12 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 games. 11 games since they've scored more than 4 runs. So their offense has really, really been struggling. Cannon, a higher pitching prospect in the White Sox organization, but it's still not somebody that I see him and I see his cheap salary price tag and I'm like, yeah, we got to have him. No, it's not like that. I just think that Texas, with the struggles that they have had offensively, can certainly put him into the viable cheap category. So heading towards the bats, if it is going to be Maeda, I'm going to have a whole lot more interest in Cleveland. If it's not Maeda, I'm going to be putting San Diego as my favorite stack on the day. The cover guy for this video is going to be Xander Bogaerts. He has returned from injury. He was out for about a month and a half there. But as you can see, since his return, he has 2 or more hits in every single game since returning. So he's been hitting the ball, we'll say, well, he's hitting it for contact. You can see that none of them have been for base hits, which, limits the upside there. But still, he's a guy who's still capable of, generating power, hitting doubles, getting those extra base hits that we've seen him do all throughout his career. And at $4K, I think that's a very affordable price tag that you can have. Obviously, guys like Machado and Profar are certainly going to be in play as well. If you're going with the Cleveland side of things, obviously stick near towards the top end salary guys like Ramirez and Kwan, like those lefties and Naylor. But Angel Martinez, 3.5K. This is a guy who's projected, if it was against Maeda, he's projected probably in that 2 slot in the lineup. So he's going to be on one of the higher implied run totals on the board. High up in the lineup for very, very cheap comparatively to the rest of the bats. So I could see him, if he is in that 2 spot, seeing quite a bit of ownership and just some affordability to really a lot of your builds if you are wanting to get some of these more expensive guys like Kwan, Naylor, Machado, etc. After them, we're going to go with Baltimore. Baltimore facing off against Munoz. And it's really just, this team is just jam-packed with lefties who can smash the ball. Causer, obviously, going to be in play at 3.5K. Kierstad at 3.4K. Mullins is 3.7. Like, they have a lot of very good hitters, very young hitters, but very good hitters who are very affordable, 3.4, 3.5K. And honestly, they could be, slotted into that cheap category as well. Take out Henderson and Rushman, you're not looking at anybody over 5K. And you're only looking at two guys above 4.3. So half this lineup, if not over half this lineup, is going to be priced below or at 4,000. So going to be very affordable, and all the cheap guys, O'Hearn included, are all left-handers who are going to be facing off against the righty in Munoz. In GPP, we're going to go with the Dodgers. Kind of mentioned already that Webb has just really been struggling as of late in allowing a lot more contact. He's a big ground ball pitcher, but when you talk about like the big hitters with the Dodgers, like fly ball hitters facing off a ground ball pitcher, meet in the middle, get a bunch of line drives, and that's a nice way to generate some doubles and triples in that regard. So I do like them as a GPP standpoint. Texas, I think, is going to see a little bit of limited ownership just because of how bad their offense has been as of late. However, Canna is not a guy that I'm super terrified of, and this Texas offense does have a lot of power and capability in their offense. Guys like Lowe, they're very affordable as well. Lowe is 3.6K. Awesome. Smith at 4.3, Langford 4.2. He's making the ball a lot better over the past month since he returned from his injury that benched him for quite a while there. And then you got Corey Seager, obviously leading the charge, but only at 5.3K. We've seen this guy at 6K and above and kind of gotten used to it, but he's certainly dropped. So very affordable. Garcia at 4.5, still wild seeing him priced below 5K. But I like the ownership projection, or where I think they would project out, which kind of makes me like them a little bit more as a GPP. Going into the cheap category, again, I think Baltimore could slide over into this cheap category as like my favorite cheap team, because I like them a whole lot more than Detroit and San Francisco and Miami, for that matter. But Detroit, I think if you're looking at Detroit, Miami, and San Francisco, blanked out on who that last team is, they're going to be my favorite cheap target. Riley Green obviously leading the way. The only issue with Riley Green, and I've mentioned this in videos before, is that he's really the only terrifying guy on this team that you should be really terrified about. So just kind of pitch around him, walk him, and you should be just fine. But Cole Keith, he's certainly another lefty that, very young prospect, but an elite prospect in the majors, if we even want to call him a prospect at this point in time. He's got 91 games under his belt, but still 3.8K. He's been seeing the ball and hitting the ball very well over the past month or so after just a really, really rough start to his MLB career. It's just only sky's the limit for this kid. Really like him. So maybe if you want to pivot off of Xander Bogaerts, maybe go with Keith, both second base eligible, both with a very similar price tag. So that's kind of where I see this slate shaking out is the night before. So, maybe a good night's sleep is going to change some things on me. Maybe I move Kershaw up over Bassett. Maybe if it comes out that he's going to see maybe a little bit more of a run. But yeah, so check to see if Maeda is going to be the Detroit pitcher. If so, Cleveland, one of my favorite stacks. If it's not Maeda, I would probably move Cleveland down below San Diego and maybe even below Baltimore as well. But Baltimore's just got so many cheap lefties that you can jam. Salary is not going to be an issue. Nobody's priced above 9.5 in terms of the pitching. And yeah, there's a lot of cheap everywhere. So good luck in your contest as always. Thanks for watching. Mega Roller is going to be back on Friday with that big main slate breakdown. I think it's 12 games on Friday. Either way, it's going to be big. Come back on Friday. Love to see you. Thanks as always. See you.